Hi, so I don't know if you can hear me. So welcome to my first ever webinar. I'm not sure how this is going to go because I'm feeling my way with the technology, but I'm going to give it my best shot and hopefully you will be following from wherever you are. So I can't actually hear you. If you want to speak to me, that's not going to work, but you can type into the live chat box and I will be checking that intermittently throughout and at the end as well. So if I don't respond to you straight away, that's why. But I will hopefully get to any comments and questions a little bit later, if not right away. There is a time delay as well, so just be aware that we're not completely synchronized in time. So if I speak, you will be hearing it about 30 seconds later. So hopefully you can see my screen. I've shared a slide which says 7 marketing mistakes you need to avoid, which is the name of this webinar. And the subtitle is So You Can Save Time and Money While Growing Your Business. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And this is based on my Get Fruitful Marketing Manifesto, which is something that I've written about on my blog at getfruitfulmarketing.com. So if you want to know more, you can always visit the website later to see a copy of the manifesto. But I'm going to be talking about these 7 mistakes today. These are things that I've observed over the last 15 years while I've been working in marketing in different industries, different businesses that I've worked with. And I see these common mistakes being made time and time again by businesses of all different types and scale and stage as well. So this applies to people who are just starting out with a new business, as well as more established businesses who've maybe been running for many years. And it can also apply to sole traders and bigger businesses. So I'm hoping that there'll be something that you'll take away no matter what the nature of your business is. Right, I'm just going to try and check the live chat here. Now, I'm going to write something in this box. I'm going to write, hello, can you let me know if you are watching right now? Just type here in the live chat. Now, I'm a little bit confused because I have actually got a number of screens open. One of them is the live streaming, and I've just written something in that box, and I've also got another page where I'm sort of watching myself play back, as it were. And I've started a live stream chat box there as well. So I'm not sure where these messages are going to pop up. But I'm not seeing anything there right now. For some reason. So now I need to go back to the screen. Right, I'm not seeing anything in the live chat box, but I will continue with the slides, I think. And then if you, oh, hello, now you can probably see me. I've stopped sharing my slides. So yes, hello and welcome again. This is me in the Get Fruitful Marketing office. I'm going to go back to the slides now, but I might come back to my face in a minute. Right, bear with me while I figure this one out. Slides, there we go. Hopefully you can see that. So I'm going to scroll down onto the first slide. So what is marketing? is a question that I just want to pose before we start off, because obviously that's what we're talking about today. And sometimes people understand different things by this word. So I just want to be clear from the beginning what it is exactly that we're talking about. Now, if I ask people, what does the word marketing mean to them? I get lots of different responses, but quite often I hear things like, oh, marketing is all about social media, or, oh, marketing, that's advertising, or promoting what you do. And that's really just part of the equation in the way that I see things. So for me, marketing is a bit more comprehensive and interdisciplinary is a word that I like to use. It brings together lots of different aspects. So it can involve graphic design, market research, new product development, new service development, feedback, getting feedback from customers. And it also obviously encompasses all the different activities and tactics that you can use to get your message out there. And that can involve advertising, social media, direct mail, print campaigns, and all the other online tools that are available. So I just wanted to open with that definition of marketing. I'm just going to share something from the Chartered Institute of Marketing, because I think this is quite interesting. I've recently discovered that they've actually changed the way that they define marketing. So I have been using their old definition, which actually comes from 1976. And they say that marketing is the management process responsible for identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably, which I think is interesting because, as I've broken it down there on different lines on the slide, it is comprised of different elements. So there's obviously this idea that it's a management process, so it needs some kind of top level input, and it all needs to be joined up into a sequence. And then it's about, first of all, identifying who your target market is and understanding who you're selling to, who you're trying to engage, anticipating what they want. So understanding them is key to that, and understanding your customers' needs and wants, desires, and satisfying them. So that's about getting feedback and having a dialogue with your customers to ensure that what you're offering them works for them. And then obviously the last line, profitably, is all about the fact that you need to make a profit from any engagement with a customer. Otherwise, it's not really business, not good business sense if you're not making a profit. But I like to think about profit in different ways. So it's not just about financial profit necessarily, but there might be more intangible profits that are to be made, and there might be other ways of thinking about that profit in terms of the impact that the relationship between the customer and yourself is having on both of you. So there might be a non-financial exchange or reward happening. So I really like this definition, but it's interesting that recently they've actually changed it. So in 2007, they actually came up, the Chartered Institute of Marketing came up with a new definition of the word marketing, which is this, it's quite long. The strategic business function that creates value by stimulating, facilitating, and fulfilling customer demand. It does this by building brands, nurturing innovation, developing relationships, creating good customer service, and communicating benefits. By operating customer-centrically, marketing brings positive return on investment. satisfies shareholders and stakeholders from business and the community, and contributes to positive behavioural change and a sustainable business future. I really like that definition as well, because it draws out this idea of sort of mutual exchange, mutual benefit, and really opens up the definition. So it's not just about financial gain, financial profit necessarily. There are sort of nods there to other impacts that business can have on the world beyond just making money. And I think it's just a much more comprehensive, holistic definition. So I'm going to move on now to talk about business growth and how marketing plays its part. So I would say that anyone in business is already a marketer. You might not think of yourself as a marketer, but I would say that you are, because as soon as you start having to tell anyone about what it is that you do, for example, if you go to a networking event or just at a party or an event, somebody asks who you are and what you do, as soon as you start to put those messages out there and explaining that, you're essentially doing marketing for your business, in that you are trying to express in a few words what your business is, what it's about, and who it's for, and who you're there to serve. So you're already doing marketing probably most days of the week, even when you don't think you're working. And you know, if you have a business card or a flyer or brochure or a Facebook page or a Twitter account or any of these marketing tools at your disposal, and you're using them to put messages out about your business, then you're doing marketing already, even if you're not really thinking about it in those terms. Now, I would say that a healthy, growing, sustainable business is an ecosystem of systems, which is really me just trying to find a way of saying that a successful business needs to be made up of different systems to help you with all the different aspects of the business. So you need to have a system for producing whatever it is that you produce. So some kind of operational procedures and systems. If you need help with things, you're probably going to need some kind of human resources system. And that might be that you're hiring people into your team because you need extra help, or it might be that you're outsourcing. And you're going to have some kind of financial system. So obviously you will need to be tracking your expenses and your income. So you're going to have some kind of bookkeeping system, I would imagine, whether that's just an Excel spreadsheet or one of the many online tools, or perhaps you're working with an accountant or a bookkeeper. And you're going to need a marketing system, but quite often when people are starting out in business, this is something that they neglect to think about, or maybe they don't think about it quite in these terms. They don't think of it as a system. So that's really one of the key takeaways I want you to go away with from this webinar, that you need a system for your marketing. You need to think of it in a systemic way. And you need to build a process for raising awareness of whatever it is that you sell amongst your target audience. And then to have a process for filtering those customers through from being a prospective customer who's just thinking about working with your company or buying from you, to actually converting into a paying customer. And then you need a process for delivering that service or product in an excellent way, so that the customers are going to want to come back and buy from you again in the future, to give you fantastic reviews and also to refer more business to you. So that's what I really want you to take away, this idea that you need to build a marketing system. And the marketing system should then drive all of the rest of your business, because marketing is all about driving sales. And if you don't have any sales, I suggest you don't really have a business. So I think of marketing as a little bit like the engine for the business, or the catalyst for everything else. So thinking about building systems to make your business more sustainable, you need all of these different systems for HR, finance, all the operational day-to-day things that you do, all the admin and dealing with customers. But you also really need this marketing system. So I'm just going to flick back to the live chat, and then I'm going to talk about mistake number 1, which I see many people making. So I'm not seeing anything in my box here. So I'm going to carry on, but I will check back intermittently to this page and see if anyone's writing anything in there. If you can see the slides, maybe you can just write something in the box to let me know. Just say, yes, I can see the slides, or no, I can't see the slides. That would be really helpful. So what you should be able to see now is a slide saying mistake number 1, no strategy. And I'm just going to double check that this is still on the screen share. Oh, I keep losing my option to select this. Slide. Right, here we go. Entire screen. Share. Ooh. Right, I'm seeing all sorts of things here. Right, hopefully you can see the slide. I'm just going to carry on. So mistake number 1 that I see many people making is that they just don't have a marketing strategy. A lot of people have a to-do list which has lots of marketing activities on it. So they think they're being strategic because they think they've got it all planned out and it's written down. And therefore they think they've got a strategy, but that isn't really a strategy. So saying, you know, Monday, send an email campaign out, or Tuesday, update my Facebook page, or Wednesday, go to a networking event. You know, that's really just scheduling your time and keeping track of your activity. It's not necessarily being that strategic about it. So I just want to talk about what a strategy is and why you need one, really. And this is really number 1 mistake that I see time and time again. So a strategy really is all about having a clear vision for your business and what it is that you're trying to achieve, both for yourself and for the world at large. So I would suggest that many people go into business on their own. They start up their own businesses because they want a different kind of lifestyle. They want to be their own boss. You want to have maybe more flexibility in the way that you work. You want to do more of the work that you love and less of the things that you don't like doing or are not so good at. And you want to just have more control and autonomy of what you do day to day. So you probably have quite a clear idea of what it is that you want to achieve for yourself from the business. And you probably have a sense of what it is that you want the impact to be for your business on the world, in terms of the difference that you want to make to your customers. But maybe you need to just give a bit more thought to that in terms of just making it a lot clearer and finding ways in which to share those dreams and goals, because customers really love to hear that kind of thing. They really want to know what ambitions you've got for the business, and you know what is that big dream that you're trying to create, so that they can support you in that, and people want to buy into that and be a part of that. So a good way to think about this is, you know, if your business didn't exist, what difference would it make? And how do you want the world to be better as a result of your business being in the world? You know, how many people do you want to help, and in what way? And what sort of change do you want to see in the world, really? It's kind of that Gandhi quote, be the change you want to see in the world. You know, what is the change that you want to create? So it's being very clear about your objectives and what it is that you're trying to achieve, both for yourself and for other people that you work with. And that might include staff that you take on. You know, you're going to have an impact on them and their lives. And it might be that you have some kind of social impact to your community or the environment. So just scrolling down onto the next slide, solution number 1 for this mistake, you've got to get strategic, which is number 1 point in my Get Fruitful Marketing Manifesto. So this is, as I say, really all about getting clear about the best way forward for your business. So part of what you need to do at this stage is getting really clear about where you are now and where you want to get to. And then you need to start to map out a way to get there. So the actions that you need to take are asking yourselves these questions. Where are you now? Where do you want to get to? How are you going to get there? What does success look like for you and your business? And thinking about how you measure your progress. So you've got very clear objectives that you're working towards, and then you'll start to formulate some kind of a game plan for your overall approach and how you're going to meet those goals and objectives. And then the next stage is working out the tactics and what you're going to do to get yourself there. And that's the bit that people quite often focus on when they think about marketing in a small business. You're often thinking about what is it that you're going to do. You know, that's your Facebook posting and your social media stuff, and it's your emails and your networking and any brochures or leaflets that you're producing. All of those things are tactics and activity. But it's really important not to just think about that day-to-day small task stuff. You've got to keep an eye on the bigger picture. And it's very easy to lose sight of, you know, your overall objectives and your overall big dream when there's so much to do, and it's quite overwhelming, you know, doing all of this stuff on your own. And quite often as a small business owner or startup, you are doing it all yourself. You are juggling lots of hats, and you have to do, you know, the finance stuff, and you have to do the HR stuff and the customer service and the marketing. So it is really hard wearing all those hats, juggling all of those balls in the air. But if you are very, very clear on what it is that you're trying to achieve, what your big vision is, and just don't lose sight of that, it will really help you when you come to picking and choosing what activity to do in terms of marketing. It will help you be more selective about what's really going to work for you, rather than just doing everything, and rather than just doing what everyone else is doing as well. That's a really common mistake, to fall into that, just thinking, oh, well, everyone else is on Facebook or everyone else is doing this event, maybe I should as well, to keep up. It's not really about that. It's about thinking what is going to be most effective for you and your business. And it might be that your target audience isn't on that particular channel online, or, you know, they're not necessarily going to be at that event. So rather than just sort of jumping on the bandwagon and feeling like you've got to do everything to keep up with everyone else, just keep in mind what it is that you're trying to achieve with your specific business, and that will help you be more selective and more effective. So I'm going to move on to mistake number 2, which links to number 1. They all link together, really. But mistake number 2 I've called only seeing part of the picture. And I'm just going to jump back to the live chat, see if I can see anything in the box. No. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with the slides, and I'll come back to the live chat again in a few minutes. So hopefully you can see the slide again. Mistake number 2, only seeing part of the picture. So the answer to this mistake is to get holistic and take a 360-degree view of your place in the market. So when people start out in business, they quite often just see things from their own perspective, and just to think about what it is that they like doing in the business, what are their favourite things to do, what is it that they want to offer, what is the product or service that they're passionate about and they want to sell. But they don't always put themselves in the customer's shoes and really understand if there is a need for that thing that they're selling. And if there is a need for it, how much is it valued? What are people willing to pay for it? Is it something that people are going to just only want at a certain time? Is it something that people are going to want to buy multiple times? And that's just because, it's human nature, really, to see things from our own perspective. So what I encourage you to do is, as much as possible, to just get out of your own skin, as it were, and put yourself in your customer's shoes as much as possible. So the actions I've outlined to help you with this issue, it's really also about integrating your activity together. So rather than seeing all of your marketing activity as separate things that are going on, so rather than thinking about, your networking being separate from your online presence, and that's a different thing altogether from, say, your leaflets and brochures and your email campaigns, rather than thinking about all of these separate things, just seeing how they all join up, which goes back to that idea of having a system and a process, and filtering people through that. The other things that I wanted to talk about with this issue are being very holistic in the way that you think about your marketing. So going back to that sort of top level strategic thinking, being very clear on your overall big ambition, you mustn't lose sight of that. And you mustn't also lose sight of what it is that you are passionate about and what your core principles are. So I'm just going to flick to the end. I'll come back to these slides a bit later. There's a slide that I want to share with you, which I call my brand core. I'm not sure if you can see it, and I might need to just make it a bit bigger on my screen. So this is a model that I created, which is the process that I take people through when I'm working with them, whether that's one-to-one or in my group workshops, which I'll talk a bit more about later if you're interested to know more. This is meant to look like an apple, because obviously it's themed around my business, which is Get Fruitful. So it's all fruit themed. And it's a sort of 3-layered apple. So at the center, there's a blob where you would write your business name, so you can personalize this brand core model for yourself. The next level around that central circle is a green layer with passion, purpose, position, principles, personality, pedigree, and plot. So on this model, I have my 19 P's of marketing. Quite often people talk about the 4 P's of marketing or the 7 P's of marketing. And I've just built on that and developed it up to 19 P's. So I got a bit carried away. So at the core of this apple, it's really about identifying what are the principles that your business is founded on. Those are the things that are most important to you, the qualities that you want all of your work to embody. And when you're out of alignment with those principles, that's kind of when you go off brand and you're not being the best you can be. Your passion and purpose is what gets you up in the morning, what it is that motivates you in your business. And your position is really your overall philosophy and your approach and your big idea and what it is that you want to be known for. Your personality is how you want to come across, how you express the personality of your brand. So that filters through to things like the look and feel, which if you work with a designer, a graphic designer, is really what they would work with to come up with a visual identity for your brand. So that will affect things like the fonts that you use, the colors that you use, the sort of images that you use, whether that's illustrations or graphics or photos. And it also plays a part in the tone of voice that you use in your copy. It's really helping you find the right words to express yourself. And the words that you use in your business might be different from the ones that I use. There's certain sort of key phrases that I like to use, which are often themed around fruit and growth in business. But they're very particular and specific to what I do, and they help to kind of express the personality of Get Fruitful Marketing. And obviously, when you're setting up your own business, or if the business is really just you, if you're a sole trader, then a lot of your own personal personality will come through into the business as well. And they're obviously very interlinked. But as your business becomes more established and big and grows, the brand personality will become more distinct from you and separate. And it needs to find a way to stand on its own 2 feet. So if and when you wanted to move on from the business or step back from the business, it still exists as an entity in its own right. And it has its own voice, really. So when I work with people, whether it's one-to-one or in the workshops, we do a lot of work around these things, getting very clear on what your principles are, what your passion and purpose are, how you would define the brand personality for your business. And together, those things really form the foundation or the core for your brand. So this is also what I mean when I talk about thinking holistically. It's thinking about all these different aspects, how they all join together and integrate and help to articulate the value that you offer and who you are and what you're about and why your business exists. And that's essential if you want to reach more customers. They need to be understanding all of this stuff, and you need to be communicating all of these messages, not necessarily explicitly. You don't necessarily need to be saying, you know, these are our principles and this is what we're passionate about and this is our mission and our purpose, this is our vision. You don't necessarily need to say it in those words because that's a bit clunky and people don't necessarily care that much. But these messages kind of need to be underlying everything that you do. And that will help you massively in reaching the kind of people that you want to reach, because they will also resonate with these things that are important to you in your brand. They are going to be valuing the same things. So yeah, getting holistic, I'm going to go back to that slide, is really the solution to problem number 2, which is not seeing the whole picture. So you've got to think big to start off with. You've got to have a big vision, a big strategy, and a big dream for the business of what you want to achieve. And you've got to see how everything interlinks and ties together. So it's not all about you on your own or one way of seeing things. It's about bringing it all together. Mistake number 3 I see a lot is a knowledge gap, which also links back to number 2, because you as one person, as the owner of a business, only know so much. And that's just the way it is. Your brain is only so big and you've only experienced so much, and you often just need to know more about your market or what people want or new technology, or I don't know, so many different things that you need to learn in business to make your business effective. And you just physically can't do it all and know it all. So solution number 3, you need to get insight. So I say you need to gain a fresh pair of expert eyes and more knowledge to inform your marketing. And this is where I like to suggest people get a business buddy. So somebody else that they can team up with who's maybe at a similar level, some similar stage with the business. So you can support each other and bounce ideas around and say, oh, you know, this is what I'm trying to achieve, and this is what I think I'm going to do that. So what do you think? And get their input on that and bounce ideas back and forth. Masterminds can be really useful as well, because that's a situation where you get together with maybe 5 or 6, 7 or 8 different people from different businesses and share what your goals and plans are and what you're doing to achieve those things. And again, it's just getting different perspectives on what it is that you're doing, because when you're on your own, you can only come up with certain amount of new ideas, and you can just get limited and stuck. So just finding ways to bring in fresh perspectives is really valuable. So like I say, getting a business buddy, joining a mastermind group, maybe getting a business coach is another idea. Reading lots, so reading things online. There's loads of useful websites and sort of blogs, online magazines, as well as books, and you know, all the more traditional magazines and newspapers, and just keeping up to date with trends, new technologies that are coming out, changes in the market, changes in the way that people want to access stuff, is absolutely vital. I'm just going to scroll down to the next slide, which is just a summary of what I've just said, really. And I would include in this section getting feedback from customers. So going back to that idea that I said a few moments ago, you've got to constantly be putting yourself in the customer's shoes and getting insight from them as well. So it's not all about the way that you see things. That is understanding how your customers feel and what they want from you, and whether you're satisfying their needs, and getting information from them to help you anticipate future needs that they might have as well. So you know, if we did this, would it be of interest to you, or what other services or products would you like us to provide? And then you'll find that your customers will come up with ideas for you, and you don't have to do it all yourself. So mistake number 4 that I see a lot: people don't have a plan for their marketing. Now, a plan is a little bit different from a strategy. So you might think, oh, I've kind of covered this already in mistake number 1, which is not having a strategy. But I think a strategy and a plan are slightly different things. So a strategy is really having an overall vision or goal that you're working towards, and then having a sort of plan of attack or a game plan, or an approach for how you're going to achieve that goal. And then identifying the tactics or the steps that you need to take to implement to get you to that end point that you want to achieve. Now, I'd say a plan is really just a way of writing all of that stuff down on paper and mapping it out, really. So the strategy is sort of the thinking and the ideas, and there's probably a certain amount of debate to be had there as well. You know, bouncing ideas about and asking questions and thinking, you know, should we do it this way? Should we do it that way? Is this really what we want to achieve? But the plan is much more step by step. Okay, this is what we're going to do, and it needs to be smart as well. So you need to be thinking about timings and scheduling things. So you probably know the SMART acronym, SMART, which is making things specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. And that's really kind of coming into play with the planning side of things. So you really need to find out exactly what you need to do step by step. That's the solution for this mistake, and get a plan. And I would say that it needs to be very simple, straightforward, and something that you'll reference on a daily basis. So a mistake that I've seen a lot in the past is people spending a lot of time and effort writing up these really big long plans in ring binder files, and strategies as well, and just never looking at them. They just sit on a shelf and get forgotten about. What is a much better way of working is just to have a very simple one-page plan, which you can stick on the wall above your desk, or you can put it on your desktop, and then you'll always have it to hand, and it will just really help to focus your mind. And it should have all of your top level ambitions and goals on it, and then step by step, how you're going to achieve that. And that might have monthly activities that you've got to do, daily things, weekly things. And it's usually good to map out maybe a year's worth of activity, but you could just focus on maybe the next 3 months or the next 6 months. Or you might even want to go a bit longer term, and so think about the next 18 months or 3 years, 2 years, that kind of thing. Just whatever you think is most appropriate for you. So the actions that you need to take for this point are evolving your to-do list. So like I said at the beginning, just having a to-do list isn't enough, really. A to-do list is not a plan, and it's not a strategy. So the strategic plan should have all of those big goals on it and be a bit more comprehensive, and everything should link back to those big goals and those fundamental messages that you need to put out, those things that are really at the core of your brand that you mustn't lose sight of. And you need to think smart and make sure that everything is being scheduled to a specific time. So it's not just sort of general things like send an email out or create a new leaflet. It's more specific. So it's things like send an email out on Monday about X, Y, and Z. And then you're more likely to do it and achieve it. So mistake number 5, I'm just going to flick back to the live chat box. If you want to post something in there, if you haven't yet, then feel free to do that. And I can answer your questions at the end. Okay, so I'm going to just carry on now. Mistake number 5, not investing enough. So many small businesses are reluctant to invest to the level that I think they would really benefit from. I think people are often lacking confidence, and they just don't feel sure that they're going to get a good return on any money or time that they spend out. So that holds them back, and that really limits their growth as well. So the solution for this, you've got to get invested. You've just got to bite the bullet and realize the true potential of your business. An analogy that I like to make is to buying houses that are a bit run down and doing them up. Because if you see the potential of an old rundown house to be a really lovely home or investment that you could sell or rent out, then you're going to be willing to spend the time and money on doing it up. And you need to really think about your business in the same way. So to get your business on to the next stage and to grow it and to get more customers and have a bigger profit at the end of the day, you need to be always finding ways to make it better and tell more people about it and improve the level of customer service that you offer, and and everything else that goes along with that. So the actions that you need to take here for this step, I would say, are you need to ring fence your marketing budget. A lot of small business people and startups don't actually have marketing budget at all, which is quite normal. But at the end of the day, you are actually spending money on marketing, probably without realizing it. So you are most likely going to have a website, which will have cost you money in terms of the domain name when you bought the domain, and the hosting probably will have some kind of charge. You probably have bought business cards. You possibly have had a logo made. You may have had some leaflets done or some posters. You know, there are lots of things that you probably have spent money on to market yourself. So what I suggest is that you note all of those things down, ideally on Excel or something, and just add them all up and see how much you've already spent on marketing. And then think about your wish list. You've probably got a wish list of, oh, I'd like to have some more professional photos taken, or I'd like to invest in outsourcing my social media activity, or I don't know, I'd like to print some more business cards or have my logo redone or something. So just add up all of those things as well. And then you'll start to get an idea of what your marketing is actually costing you and how much more you'd like to invest to take your business forward. And just by doing that little exercise, it will really help to clarify your thinking. And hopefully what I suggest is always keeping a little bit of money aside for marketing. Now, people often say, you know, how much should I be spending on marketing? And it's kind of a tricky one to answer, really, because it depends on the business. It depends on where you're at with business, whether you're just starting out, whether you're a bit more established, whether you have got massive growth plans and you want to, you know, double your turnover this year, or if you're happy basically ticking along as you are and you just want to make things a bit more sustainable. So it is tricky sometimes to put a figure on it, but a good ballpark figure that people often bandy around is talking about 10% of your turnover should be going towards marketing. And that's really based on the idea that anything that you spend out on marketing, you really want it to cover your costs at least. You really want to make your money back on that from a future sale, future customer. Otherwise, it's just money down the drain. So that's what you should always be looking to achieve. And whenever you spend out, whether it's time or money, just be thinking about that. You know, am I going to get something back from this that's going to cover that cost? But ideally, I would say you should be hoping for 10 times the return on that investment at least. So, you know, if you spend £100 on an advert, I would suggest that you need to at least be bringing in £100 back from a new customer, or reactivating an old customer. But ideally, you'd like to be getting maybe £1,000 back from that advert to really make it worthwhile. So that's where the 10% marketing budget idea comes from. So having 10% of your turnover allocated to marketing just comes back to that idea of, you know, every pound that you spend, you really want to be getting at least £10 back from it. So that's a really rough ballpark. I'd say another way to think about it is just thinking about what does it cost you, or what would you be willing to spend to win a new customer? You know, what's that customer worth to you in the long term? So thinking about the lifetime value of the customer and putting a figure on it that way is another way to think about it. But, you know, if you're just starting out in business, the fact is you're going to have to put in a lot of time and money to get your message out there. You've just got to be willing to invest. And it might be that if you've got a goal to earn, you know, a certain amount of money in the next year, but you're currently at zero, you know, you're going to have to invest maybe more than 10% of your target earnings to get you to that point If you're starting from a zero baseline, you're starting from scratch, you're starting from zero, it might be that you're going to have to put in more than 10% just to get you started. But once you're up and running, it might be that you don't have to spend so much time and money because you'll have those systems and processes in place. You will have thought about things more comprehensively, and you'll have a strategic plan, and everything will just be easier. So your ongoing investment might not have to be quite so much. But you've got to think long term. Marketing isn't about quick wins, and you've just got to be prepared for that. That if you do something today, you're not necessarily going to see results tomorrow, because if you're selling, particularly if you're selling a high value product or service, if it's something that people need to give a modicum of consideration about, then that's something that people need to take time to build the relationship with you. You need to build trust, and it's about finding the right timing for when people want to buy that thing as well. So you're not selling toothpaste or food, which is sort of fast moving consumer goods. People don't necessarily need to put so much time and thought into it. They will just see an advert, or they'll see something on offer and they'll go, yeah, okay, I'll buy that now. But many of us are not selling that kind of product or service, so you've just got to think longer term. So I'm running out of time now. I'm just going to quickly move on to the last couple of points. So mistake number 6, I'd say, is putting all your eggs in one basket. The solution is you've got to get testing. So you've got to discover what really works and see how you can keep improving. So something I see a lot is people blowing all of the marketing budget they've allocated to one thing. They go, all right, we're going to do this really big advertising campaign. So I'm just going to have some water. Or, we're going to go out to this big exhibition or this big event, and we're going to pay for a stand, and we're going to give away free samples, etc., etc. And they sort of blow all their budget, and they don't necessarily get a good return from it. And then they think, oh, why do we do that? And they just feel really disappointed and frustrated and annoyed. So the solution to this, the actions that you need to take with any marketing activity which is new for you, if it's something that you've not done before, you've got to pilot new initiatives. So just taking little baby steps and just testing things out on a small scale first before you roll it out and do an all singing, all dancing thing. You've got to track response rates as well. So any activity that you do, you've got to find a way to monitor whether people buy from you as a result. So obviously with Google Analytics, you can do lots of stuff online to link with your website. So you can be tracking how people are coming to you, what they're doing on your website, and how effective that is for you. Similarly with social media, there's lots of analytic tools out there which can help you tracking that. But when you're doing things offline in the real world, it can be a bit harder, but there are ways around it. You just need to think about those and plan those in from the beginning. So that might just be sort of asking people, how did you hear about us? Did you see our advert? Did you pick up a leaflet? Did you meet us at this event? And just noting things down. But you've just got to think about those, as I say, from the beginning, and have a system in place for capturing that information and then responding to it as well. And the last action there is think in terms of campaigns. So quite often people just think about their marketing as this big, overwhelming, ongoing thing. And that can just all feel a bit too much and not very clear. So if you can break things down in terms of campaigns, it can really help when you're testing and tracking things. So you might want to break things down and say, okay, we're going to do a Christmas campaign, for example, and just do some promotional things, some activity which links to Christmas shopping, for example, if what you sell is something that people buy around Christmas. Maybe you might do something around Mother's Day if you sell things that are appropriate for that. You might do a New Year offer. That's often something that you see gyms doing, and sort of health and fitness products and services. So New Year, new start, and then there's obviously back to school, and you can just think about things in terms of timing throughout the year, and build little campaigns with different sorts of activity to support the way that you're getting messages out at particular times of year. So I'm just going to take a final moment to ask if anyone has any questions, or if you want to share any thoughts, concerns, challenges, or make suggestions, give examples of things that have worked for you, or that you've seen other people doing which you think are interesting. I'm just going to quickly jump back to the live chat and see if anyone's put anything in there. If not, I'm going to carry on to the final slide. I'm not seeing anything in the box, which might mean it's not working, I don't know. Let's see if there's something in the other box. I did have another box, but I've lost that one now. So I'm going to go on to the final slide, which is mistake number 7, chopping and changing and losing sight of the little details. So this is something that I see all the time. It's very tempting if you do something and you don't feel like it's working, or you're not getting the response that you had hoped for. Then it's very tempting to go, oh, okay, I'm going to ditch that. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to change the name of the company, or I'm going to, change the look of my website, or I'm going to change the images that I'm using, or I don't know. There's so many different things that you might change, and I would really caution against that, because if you're trying to build your brand, you need to be consistent. And that's solution number 7, get consistent. So you need to keep on track with getting your message across. You can't be chopping and changing all the time. It will just confuse people, and you won't become memorable. You won't be, building a strong brand for yourself. So the actions that you need to take on this final point, you need to keep it simple, because simplicity is memorable. You need to pay attention to the little details. So a really good example of this, which I liked, is Audi. And any big brands are really, really good at this. But I went to my local Audi car showroom the other day because my car was being fixed. And I was just really struck by how many little details they'd paid attention to really be very, very consistent about getting their brand messages across. So I had to wait with my daughter, who's 2, for a while for our car to be fixed, and we were encouraged to help ourselves to refreshments, and they had a coffee machine with a little template for sprinkling cocoa powder on top of your cappuccino. And the template was cut in the shape of the 4 Audi rings, which I thought was amazing, that they'd actually gone to the effort of creating this thing. And then they kindly brought out a colouring book for my daughter, which was the Audi colouring book, and it was pictures of cars. And they gave us some crayons, which kept her happy. And I just thought, again, that was amazing, because it was all playing a part in providing an excellent customer service and a really good experience for us, but in subtle, or perhaps not so subtle ways, just constantly putting their brand messaging on everything. So just thinking about how you can apply those little details in your business, what would that look like for you? And thinking about all the senses as well. So not just about what your customers see, but what they experience in other ways. So what they might be hearing. You might think about the music that you're playing if you have a building or premises, or even online perhaps. What can they smell if they're particularly kind of coming into contact with you in some way, in terms of the premises where you are, or if you're going out to meet people. what can they taste, what can they see, and what can they feel? And how can you bring your brand to life through the senses? So I'm just going to finish up now because we've been talking for about an hour. And I'm just going to flag up some workshops that I'm running. So if you feel like you would benefit from some more time and support with getting to the core of your brand, really understanding how you could better articulate what your brand is all about, creating a personality for your brand, clarifying what the principles are that your business is founded on, and getting clear on who your target audience is, how to reach them, how to come up with a really good strategy for your marketing, and getting ready to put it all into a plan, then you might like to join me for these workshops that I'm going to be running on Fridays throughout October and November. So I'm going to have two groups. There's going to be one in West Malling, and we're going to be meeting at the lovely Swan restaurant in a little room upstairs from 10 till 12:30 on the first 4 Fridays in October. And then there's going to be a second group running at the Tunbridge Wells Hotel in the Pantiles on the first 4 Fridays in November at the same time. So you can pick whichever group would suit you better. So you might want to come to the one that's nearest you, either West Malling or Tunbridge Wells, or it might be that October suits you better or November. And you can book online. If you go to the website, getfruitfulmarketing.com, there is a link there to book for either of those. I'm charging £347, and that will get you a place in the group for the 4 weeks. You'll get the opportunity to have me guide you through the brand core, which I showed you earlier. I'll show you again. So basically, we'll be talking each week about these different sections of the brand core, and you will get to fill this out for your business and take one of these away, which you can stick up on your wall by your desk, and it will just help to keep you on track and really clarify how to articulate the value of your business, who it's for, and why they should buy from you. And people who've done the course before found it really useful. If you go to the website, you can see some of the lovely comments that people left after they'd joined that group. And as well as kind of going away with this clarity and support from me, obviously you get the opportunity to share your experiences with other people in the group who are on a similar journey, other business owners and startups, and get mutual support from them. And that's something that people really enjoyed on the last group as well, was just hearing other people's stories and bouncing ideas around, and getting input from other people, other perspectives. So that's the workshops. I also work with people one-to-one. So if you're not able to attend either of the workshops, or you just don't really think it's for you, then I do work with people one-to-one. But it's quite an intensive process. It takes quite a lot of time from my part. So therefore, I'm only able to work with a very small number of people each year. So if you want to know more about that, drop me a line. You can email me, anwin@getfruitfulmarketing.com, or you can connect with me on Twitter @getfruitfulnow. So I hope that session this morning has been helpful, and that it's prompted some ideas and thoughts of things that you can apply in your business, maybe things that you are not doing that you would like to do, or things that you are not maybe quite on track with, and maybe that will just serve as a reminder for you. So I'm going to sign off now. I will check the live chat quickly now. If anyone has any other questions, you can just email me at anwin@getfruitfulmarketing.com, and hope to see some of you on the workshops. Thank you very much. Goodbye.